Hey, welcome. In this video, I'm going to break down a topic that's going to be especially helpful for those of you picking out gongs and any type of metal instrument. So if you're purchasing gongs or Tibetan bowls or any type of metal bowl, this concept is going to be really helpful for you in understanding what types of sounds you like. And that is fundamental pitch versus overtones. So this is another one of those things that is just a little bit complicated, and it includes some of that, like the mathematics of music and of pitch and of frequency and that sacred geometry that is so attractive to us in the spiritual world. A lot of that is really found in music and in instruments. And so I kind of want to break this down. But first off, I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version. So basically, there's two types of sounds that you get from metal instruments, and that is fundamental pitch and overtones. And the easiest way for me to talk about this is just to demonstrate with my gongs. So I have here a chow gong and a wind gong. And what I'm going to show you is generally, I'm not going to say always, but this is generally true of these types of instruments. Chow gongs tend to have more fundamental pitch, and wind gongs tend to have more overtones. So fundamental pitch, I'm going to just play it and you'll hear it. A fundamental pitch is a primary note that you can hear, that speaks through, that you can pick out and you can hum along to or you can sing along to. Da, la, 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 la. Da. That's the main note that I'm hearing. And this is another thing, like when we're using microphones, I'm using microphones here. The microphones might pick things up a little bit differently, but being in front of this gong, that fundamental pitch is really what I hear the most. Now, compare that to my wind gong. It's like, bleh, like I can't pick out a note. So this has more overtones. Overtones are, it's like a combination of lots of other pitches happening, and it creates a sound that's more cloudy, that's more dense. And so fundamental pitch is the primary most audible pitch that you can hear. And this is really true with all metal instruments. This gong does have a fundamental pitch. It's so low that I don't think I could even sing along to it. And it's so hidden because there are so many overtones in it. But this has a really clear fundamental pitch. And again, the fundamental pitch is just when you play the instrument, it's a clear sound, like a bell, like a pitch. I think in the previous video, I pulled up a piano and you could hear all the distinct different pitches. And you can really hear that with gongs. So this is sort of where I'm going to get into this now. We're stepping away from Cliff Notes version and we're going to get a little bit deeper into this. So what happens when I play a gong? There is a primary vibration that happens. This gong is, it's been produced in a way that there's one main vibration that comes out, but it's this big round thing. So not only does that one main vibration come out, which is the fundamental pitch, but also there's kind of like an infinite number. It's not infinite, but there's so many other pitches coming out at the same time. So simultaneously. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit more on the next slide. So in addition to that one sound, I'm going to play the gong a little bit more so you can hear some of the other tones that I can pull from the gong. So in addition to that da sound, there are hundreds of other vibrations coming out of the gong simultaneously. And the fundamental pitch that we hear is one like stable, consistent sound wave. The overtones are the other pitches that we hear that break off into partials, and they create higher pitches that kind of sit on top of that fundamental pitch. They create this complexity, this shimmery sound, and density to the sound. So just one last time, the fundamental pitch is the clear note that you will be able to pick out and hum along to and match from your instrument. And the overtones are the density, the cloudiness, the shimmeriness, the stuff that you can't quite sing along to, that's creating, it's like padding to the sound or padding to that pitch. And what's really interesting about this is like where this sacred geometry comes in that's really interesting, is that the pattern that the Overtones series comes out, the other pitches that are coming out of the gong happen in this perfect and sacred geometry. And so this is actually going to be my next tattoo, is the Overtone series. So this is sort of like the ratio of pitches, and we can sort of see this more easily here. So if this is one sound wave that's coming off of, I wonder, maybe I'll pull up another, let me pull up another thing for this. Hold on. Okay, I just wanted to pull up a picture of a sound wave for you just to help describe exactly. This is one wavelength here. We can see the sound wave going up and then down, and then when it comes back to its starting point, that is one complete cycle of the sound wave. So if we're looking back at this, with the sound waves that are happening, let me show you this again, sorry. So this is like one length of the sound wave is what this is supposed to represent. What happens with overtones is that it's basically cutting the fundamental pitch in half, and then in a third, and then in a fourth, and a fifth, and a sixth, and a seventh. And it creates this geometry. So let me just say that one more time a little bit better. So this pitch here is supposed to represent the fundamental pitch. This is the main note that we're hearing. This is the main note that the gong is tuned to. And so when we strike the gong, this sound wave comes out at this frequency. But when we strike the gong, that sound wave comes out, but then it also breaks off into partials in half and in thirds and in fourths. And that creates higher pitches on top of it. And so if we take a look at all of these happening simultaneously, then it turns into this, which is the overtone series. And so let me just say again that this is a concept that sound healing retailers probably aren't talking about, but it's a very distinct characteristic of sound between metal instruments. If you are familiar with like drums and like drum set, if you have cymbals work the same way as gongs. They're going to be cymbals that have a lot of overtones and have a lot of density to the sound. And then there are going to be cymbals out there that have like a really clear pitch and it sounds like a clear bell. So it's just something to think about. I'm going to be going through like an online shopping with me where I talk a little bit about the qualities of the instruments and how we can see, based off of what an instrument looks like, how we know what it's going to sound like. So I'm going to give you sort of like a play-by-play using recordings of like instruments on different websites that are out there, on Gongs Unlimited, on websites that like for online retailers. A lot of them have sound clips for the instruments. I'm going to go over with you like what some really strong overtone instruments sound like and what some really strong fundamental pitch instruments sound like in gongs and in singing bowls. So my gongs are kind of a good example, but I want to show you more variety so you can really understand. So if this is a topic that's interesting to you, definitely check out the online shopping video also, because I'm just going to get a little bit more detailed and really show you and demonstrate through these sound clips what all this means and what it sounds like instrument to instrument. So hope you found this to be helpful, and see you in the next video.